Now, NATO foreign ministers are meeting today to discuss more long-term military support for Ukraine. NATO chief Jens Stoltenberg has put forth a proposal for a €100 billion 5-year fund and a plan seen as a way to protect aid for Kyiv if Donald Trump is elected president this November in the U.S. The new fund would give NATO a more direct role in coordinating the supply of arms, ammunition, and equipment to Ukraine as it fights Russia's invasion.
We need to shift the dynamics of our support. We must ensure reliable and predictable security assistance to Ukraine for the long haul, so that we rely less on voluntary contributions and more on NATO commitments. We are transforming NATO's comprehensive assistance package into a multi-year program of assistance.
The NATO meetings this week will also mark the 75th anniversary of the founding of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization and prepare for a summit of NATO leaders in Washington this July. Well, we're going to talk more about NATO now with defense specialist Anthony King. Anthony, thanks for joining us. Let's start with this $1 billion in proposed funds for Ukraine. How crucial is that money for Ukraine at the moment?
Oh, well, I mean, it's completely crucial. At the moment, and it's been a story for 3 or 4 months now, Ukraine has been seriously suffering with various weapons shortage, ordnance shortage, etc. And so a serious package and a committed package of aid of this type and a compulsory package is completely essential. I mean, the central argument at the moment is that without significant resources, military resources, Ukraine are about to lose significant amounts of territory, or potentially about to lose significant amounts of territory. So it's a very significant statement.
So speaking today, the NATO chief Jens Stoltenberg talked about ensuring reliable arms for the long haul. How long do you think this war in Ukraine could drag on?
Well, many months. From the outset, from the moment that the Russian operation against Kyiv and the Zelensky government failed in February through March 2022, so 2 years ago, it was always going to be a long war. It will be fought throughout this summer. And certainly into next year. I mean, will Ukraine eventually be able to remount some counteroffensive next year? It's uncertain, but it will certainly go into 2025 and may descend, if there's not some kind of military result or military stasis, it may well descend into a kind of low-grade frozen conflict, which nobody wants.
Well, what about the role of the U.S. in all of this? It seems like NATO is trying in part to Trump-proof, if you like, the future aid and the structure for Ukraine if Trump were to win back the White House this fall. How do you see all that playing out?
Yeah, it's a great phrase, Trump-proofing it, and I think that's a very apt way of stating it. The point is that the US have been totally critical to the defense of Ukraine. Many other European countries, NATO members, have played a very important role. Britain, Poland, some of the smaller Eastern European countries have played an important part, such as the Czech Republic. But the US is absolutely decisive. It's provided the most aid by many factors. And of course, it provides the framework, the military framework, in which the other contributions make some kind of sense. So it's absolutely, the US have been indispensable. And of course, that has created this reaction among the Trump wing of the Republican Party and amongst candidate Trump himself, for the candidate for the presidency. So I think that we should see this as an attempt by NATO to signal to Washington, whether it be a Trump administration or a Biden one, that NATO and NATO Europe is taking this support of Ukraine seriously and shouldering its burden without question.
And I imagine all of this has to be very frustrating for Ukraine. Aid is coming, but very slowly from Europe. Other funding still remaining blocked in the U.S. What must be going on through the president's mind of Volodymyr Zelensky at this point?
Well, in a way, President Zelensky's position has remained the same throughout. I mean, and he's been brilliant in terms of articulating his position, which is he's absolutely sought support and continued support from the West, and his role has been to leverage and to represent Ukrainian interests in Western capitals, and done so brilliantly. So, I mean, his actual strategic position is exactly the same. The problem is the operational conditions have now changed. We've had a period of 18 months or so, nearly 2 years, in which, frankly, the Ukrainian armed forces have been on the offensive, have been in the favoured position in which operational conditions look optimistic, to the exact opposite. And so actually persuading Western powers to keep providing support in an unfavourable situation, when the prospects of support are long term, at least into next year, that situation is more difficult for President Zelensky. But I mean, his essential line has remained the same, and will rightly continue to remain the same, namely that without that Western support, there is no way that Ukraine can prevail in the way that it wants to. Certainly, Russia will take more terrain back.
Anthony, thank you for that. That's Defense Specialist Anthony King. Thank you.
Thanks.